Welcome back folks, and welcome back to a new Stalker 2 video. So today we're gonna be recapping all of the news and information we got over the past week, especially when it comes to the development of the game, A-Life 2.0 system, and why it was removed from the game's description on Steam. Because 3 days ago IGN actually released a very good article where we find out more information on what actually happened. As always, you have topics of the video down below in the description, so you can navigate to the one which interests you the most. So IGN had an interview with Maria and Evgen Grigorovich, and they talked more about A-Life 2.0 system, and especially what was happening on the marketing side. So this is what they said. This system to work properly requires a much larger area for spawn NPCs, and it requires much more memory resources. We were fighting with optimization. To optimize, you have a lot of things that you need for your resources, and you try to cut things from different directions to properly optimize the game. But to make it work, we had to optimize some things, and they make A-Life work in many situations not as it should. Also, we created some bugs not long ago before release with NPCs spawning in the air and dropping back to the bottom. They actually should spawn in the terrain. Why it happened, I don't know, and also we had some bugs with AI behavior. So all these things connected make it look like it's very broken and not working. But we are now continuing working on the optimization part to bring more resources for A-Life system to increase the range where A-Life is actually visualized. And to especially explain it to people who have never played previous Stalker games and why A-Life is so important, the best way to visualize that is going to be Zeton. The first time I entered the area in Stalker 2, and especially because Zeton has a lot of elevations in the terrain, so you can kind of have like a full view of the area, I saw no one. There were no mutants, there were no Stalkers. If you take a look at the previous Stalker games, and especially if you take a look at Call of Pripyat, for example, every time you go out in Zeton, you are going to see mutants in the background. You're going to see Stalkers fighting those mutants. You're going to see Stalkers fighting other Stalkers. That's why the world made it feel so alive, because everything which was happening in the world, it was happening regardless if you were doing something or not. But here in Stalker 2, because of all of those bugs, every single time it's kind of looking like this. You're exploring somewhere, then all of a sudden you have a group of either a certain faction or maybe mutant just attacking you out of nowhere. You haven't seen them because they were never there. But that doesn't mean that A-Life system is not in the game, but when you look at all of these issues, especially for a system that complicated, it gives out this feeling, and rightfully so. It has to be fixed so it actually feels more alive. There are NPCs outside of the range of the player, and they are in offline mode. And when the player reaches some distance, as I said, they're going to online mode and they pop back up. The distance is dictated by our optimization range, where we stream the real world and not real world with all the collisions. It was tough work, and because of these optimization problems and bugs, it becomes broken. And a lot of this has to do with streaming in video game engines, and this is what it means. So this refers to how data, like textures, models, and other game assets are dynamically loaded and unloaded during gameplay to optimize performance and allow for larger, more detailed worlds. That means if you're not looking at certain things, they're not gonna be loading in because they would consume much more resources, so they have to unload until you get close to them. In older video games, the entire level would load at the start. That's pretty much it. Take out an older game, try to find like a no-clip mode, and go throughout the world. Most of those people, like NPCs, are going to be loaded in. But in newer games, especially open world environments, you cannot do that because you would stress the system and the entire game would crash. So you have to work it in this way to stream it in so it's not loaded all the time. And they talked about it in the past because prior to the game releasing, they were doing a lot of sprints, code sprints as people like to call them famously in companies, where you're gonna be working long hours to basically prepare everything for a certain deadline. Now there is a few reasons why they do it, and I think this was the case with GSC, because every single time you do a delay, that is costing you money. that is costing investors money, and because in the market we live in today, you also have to respect some deals which you make when you're actually developing the game. That means that you're going to be releasing the game under a certain time. Now in the other news, let's talk about A-Live's 2.0 mysterious disappearance from STALKER's 2 Steam page, because it seems apparently that this was a marketing little oopsie which happened because one of the employees in the marketing team pushed these changes to remove like the description of A-Live 2.0 to kind of present it closer to new players, because a lot of new people don't even know what A-Live 2.0 is. So someone from the GSC's marketing team just changed it, and they didn't even consult Maria on that change, and because that change was pushed to the Steam page, Maria only learned about that when it appeared on Reddit. She actually did not know that it was changed. He told me that there will be a lot of new players who don't know what A-Life is. They need to understand what we're talking about in the description. So I will try to change it into a more understandable form. This was a mistake. He did that without any discussion or permission. He didn't ask, do we have some bugs with A-Life or something? Because we had. We knew that. It's a huge and difficult system. But when he did that before release, it was a surprise for me as well, because I noticed it because of Reddit. We did a Steam page in 2021, so for me, I was shocked honestly. When you have a situation like this, where not even Maria knew that this was happening, this was definitely a big mistake, because whenever you're gonna be talking about something which has been a staple of the game for a very long time, and they knew about that. I think Maria knew about that, but the person who did that apparently did not, so yeah. And for the question if A-Live 2 description will be back on STALKER's 2 Steam page, well, that is going to be after it was fixed, and it's not going to be happening right now, which is okay. I mean, for as long as all of those things happen in the game, the next, in the future updates, it should be fine. And in the last bit of news, as I mentioned, when it comes to SteamDB depots, we have a new release candidate, so make sure you are ready for the new patch. I don't know what is going to be a part of it. Maybe now it's going to be more about, some of the other things that people were talking about, but there are still a lot of things when it comes to main missions and side missions which have to be fixed. So here we have the release candidate, which was happening 1 hour ago at the time of recording this video. We have green flesh, porcupine, and green here, which is most likely different builds and testing different things prior to releasing them. So this is everything for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click that like and subscribe button down below, and let me know down below in the comments, what do you think about all of this? As always, all of these sources are going to be in the description of the video. Huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters, and for the time being, get out of here, Stalker.